It is another chilly day. It's kind of cloudy and kind of gloomy. But it looks like that weed killer is finally working. And I still have to dig out part of that fence and get that piece over there secured. But for the most part, I've got it all nice, tight, and secured. Well, let's get this day started.
And we had 4 of them. And of course, they had to basically check your vehicle in and stuff, and they had a little place where we would pull off and they inspect the vehicle. Had you get out while they inspect the vehicle, and so 3 of us, we got out and we were standing by the side of the truck. All of a sudden, the MP slept his M16 and pulled it up a little higher, and he says, "Sir, I'm going to need you to open these cases back here." I was like, "Oh, they're lane levels. They're not guns. There's just levels inside there."
That's funny.
So you're looking at putting in some lanes only.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, since I've been in here, since I used to come in, every now and again and work on the lane machine for Richard. Was it Richard?
Might have been Richard.
Richard?
That's who we bought it from.
Okay. Yeah, that was the last one. Pretty flat, so that's good. You don't see nails to where we got into in years past. Nickeling on the finish. It should be still fairly thick.
Alex took a look at the Pendex and said they're relatively new. They haven't been in that long.
Yeah, I was just saying, I remember doing the Pendex. There are Brunswick Pendex that we did. Okay. So basically, we just have to pull those and raise those up. That's not a big issue. They're installed like we install new ones. They're top screwed down. You're not down on feet. This down here used to have feet in the 4 corners, so that way when you resurface the sand, you could basically just pull your flat gutters out and you could lower them down, so that way when you sanded off the wood, you wouldn't hit them. And then you would raise them back up. And it was a good idea, but it wasn't very solid because it only had 4 points that it was attached to. With this, basically, we've got it sitting on 3 stringers, so that makes it a lot more solid. And you've got synthetic gutters, so basically it would just be a matter of taking these out, adding a little wood shim to them, screwing it back down, and then the same thing with your flat gutters, raising your flat gutters not so much in the front but up in the back, so that way they stay legal. And it's about 7/16 of an inch that we raise them. So now let's do it. I see, yeah, you've got quite a bit to it down to the tongue and groove. So your lanes are plenty thick, which is a good sign. Because it's always better if we can go down to the old lane, because this is a lot denser wood than what they use nowadays.
Gotcha.
Stuff that was hardwoods, and this is a pine. The maple and stuff that's up in the front is a lot harder, a lot denser. Screws hold a lot better. It's a lot more solid than the particle board that's used nowadays.
Yeah.
So whenever we can use that, we like that. And basically the process that we do is up in front, we use routers and planers, and basically what we'll do is we come in, we route out here at the foul line, we drop that wood down, so that way the synthetic lane will come up basically just below the approach surface, and then we just kind of taper that back out about to the dots, and that, so There will be, like I say, this will be a little lower, and it kind of gradually go uphill just a little bit. Because otherwise, if you don't, then you have to take out the whole lane and drop the whole lane 7/16, so it's a lot easier. If we just, like I say, we'll come in with a router and planers, cut this down, and then, like I say, kind of taper it back uphill to this surface. And then everything gets screwed down to the top of it. Were you going to do anything with the approaches at the same time? Some people have us sand the approaches.
We haven't decided what we're doing with the approaches yet. I mean,
Okay.
they're still in really good condition.
They look good.
We don't have an overabundance of people sticking or slipping, or so. I mean, other than people dropping their balls way back here,
Way back behind the foul line, yeah.
they're still in excellent condition.
Okay.
So we haven't decided if we're going to do it this year or we're going to wait until next year to do
Okay.
it.
Okay. And then the other thing we do is we take out the foul line, and then we'll put in a 3/4 inch thick foul line when we put the lane in, and we actually screw that to the approach, to the end of the approach. So that's nice and thick, so that way over the years as you sand a little bit. And we leave the synthetic lower, so that allows you some years of sanding and stuff on the approach. When we do lanes only, you don't have to sand your approaches very often. And that, so like I say, that gives you quite a few years before you end up getting down to where you've sanded your approach so much. Now you're down flush with the lane surface and you've got to lower that again. So we leave that lower. But yeah, your approaches look, other than some scuff marks, yeah, your approaches look good. Bowling ball drops. And that. But let's see, 24 lanes. Entire process, we average about 3 lanes a day, so it'll be just a little over a week
Okay.
that it would take us to do it. The big thing is, were you planning on doing this while you were open, or were you shutting down?
It depends on when everything is going to be delivered and how it's going to fall.
Okay.
Because I am coming into the end of the league
Okay.
right now. So if I'm going to jump on it and get right to it and they can get us everything ASAP,
Okay.
then I will shut down for a week and we'll just knock it out.
Okay. I would say, because the big thing that a lot of people don't realize is when these things come, it's generally a
Super dirty.
semi-trailer. Well, it's a semi-trailer full of stuff that we have to basically store up in here. And it eats up quite a bit of space, and they don't realize, like, oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
So, but yeah, week-long processing. It gets kind of dusty in here because we've got, like I say, we'll be doing quite a bit of woodwork with the routering. We go along with our drum. We check your lanes for level. We level your lanes. We get everything within 20 thousandths of the cross tilt and then depression or crown. You're allowed 40 thousandths, but we don't like to cut it close, so everything gets sanded down. So when we do come out here, you might see some sides of the lanes where we've sanded, some sides of the lanes where we haven't taken any finish off, because all we're doing is we just want to make sure that they're level and flat. So there's no sense taking anything off that we don't have to take off.
Gotcha.
The first gutter section will have to come out, which means down here is not so bad, but we will have to basically take up some of your gutters and your capping. We'll pull those out, set those aside, pull your gutters up, and then reinsert them when we're done. Like I say, yeah, they don't look bad. Normally we get into some older lanes and you'll see little epoxy patches to where basically when the lanes are put together, this wood is tongue and grooved, and basically they used to try and nail basically right in that tongue and groove. And over the years, as you sand, you get closer and closer to those nails, and then once we hit a nail with our sanders, then we have to cut it out, and then we put an epoxy patch over it. But you don't have any nails that are sign, so that, like I say, they're good and thick, plenty thick. So that's good, because we have run into a few to where we've had to actually cut out part of the hex section because it's so thin that by the time we routed it out, and that basically there wouldn't be enough material to give you a solid base.
Gotcha.
So we want to make sure that this stuff is good and solid and doesn't move on us. Unfortunately, your stickers will go away.
Yeah. It's okay. I'm not too attached to it. If people haven't realized by now that you're gonna fall once you cross over that foul line,
and it's
they're not from Earth.
To me, it's funny because generally it's the little kid that goes out there first,
Mm-hmm.
and they have no problem. They get halfway out there, and then it's the mom or the dad that just tears off running in a panic, and as soon as they hit the oil, they're the ones that plop.
It's the center of gravity. It is absolutely the center of gravity.
So
My granddaughter came to visit, and I had her bowling on lane 2, and she took off down the center or down the lane, and my daughter went to step, and I went and I ran down the gutter cap and snatched her up. The second time she did it, it wasn't so easy because she realized that I can stay away from Grandma if I just go right over there.
Over on the other side. Yeah.
Fortunately, Grandma knows where the oil line stops, so I ran up the oil to where the oil line was, cut across, and come back down the gutters and got her.
Okay. But yeah, like I say, the big issue with staying open is, we do create some sawdust and stuff with our planing and our routers that we do. We will be hauling out some trash bags full of sawdust.
Gotcha.
And then the other thing, like here, is basically when we unload the semi-trailer, we have to bring them in and store them flat. They'll be maybe 2-3 piles that are going to be 12 foot long.
Okay.
40, basically the width of the lane, 42 inches wide.
So
That we would have to stack them.
about a section and a half there, probably 2 or 3 deep this way.
And
So
then,
probably 2 whole sections.
And then our tools and stuff, basically. We carry quite the assortment of tools that we bring in.
I imagine. What I was discussing with my husband was getting some of that 1.5 mil
Oh, the
plastic and just
dropping
it right here just to kind of minimize, because I don't want tons of dust off into this area.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, oh, that won't help. And I'm like, yeah, it's gonna help.
Yeah, it does. And what I recommend to people is, especially the electronics, covering the electronics, the backs of the electronics.
Okay. So getting all those covered. My husband is off on tour, so I'm making a video note because he's going to ask me all this stuff later, and I'm going to have to say, okay, hold on, let me go back to the video.
That's fine. Yeah, because a lot of this stuff will just, if sawdust and stuff will wipe off, but you start getting that into your TVs.
And yeah, your monitors and computers and stuff, and it will just tear it up.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. I have 55-gallon trash bags.
Yeah.
That will take care of it
Yeah.
just about perfectly. That should cover that whole assembly if I just do it just right.
Like I said, that's always best. Like I said, you don't have that many lights, so it wouldn't hurt to basically go ahead and cover your lights, your speakers. Plus, that's a lot easier to pull a trash bag off than it is to get it out there and trying to get all that sawdust.
And take an air compressor that weighs 1 billion pounds on top of an oily lane that you've just put in and you really don't want to stick a ladder on.
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, yeah, like I say, don't have any big issues or anything, nothing extra. Here's one spot I was telling you about. That's not so much a nail, but probably a board just chipped out. So basically, that's an epoxy that's basically in there that filled a hole.
But by that point, you're already into your upward climb.
Yeah. Normally we haven't had to go too far past the dots, which is about 7 feet. So like I say, we're about a 1/16 of an inch every foot. is what we're actually coming up.
Now I want to lay down on the lane to see if that's actually 7 foot.
7 foot 1 inch. Should be 7 foot 1 inch from there to the docks.
Gotcha. I'm going to take your word for it because I don't feel like getting oily.
Yeah, because most of your oil is right up here in the middle.
Oh,
right
yeah.
in front of the foul line. So, but now I'll check a couple more lanes. This one here is maybe a little leveling issue, but they generally are up here at the front.
Yeah, where they take all the impact.
Uh-huh. So it's perfect. Close to 90,000. $10,000. So it's not bad. Here we are. Good levels, so that's not bad. Get it flat. I always step off, when there's oil, I always step off the side lane. We were in Colorado doing an installation once. It was a 20-lane center that basically had 12 on one side and then 8
Mhm.
added on years later. We got the 12 lanes done. And so we had the association come in when we moved all our stuff over to the other 8 lanes. And they brought their crew in to inspect the lanes to make sure that we did everything right and they were sanctionable. And I was really worried because when the doors opened up, I hear which end is the pit and where's the bar? Oh my gosh. So about an hour and a half into their inspection, they come over and they get me and they said, we've got a couple issues. It's like, oh yeah? It's like, okay, so I grab my lane level. And they show me where they have some discrepancies in the level, and then I set my level down and it's nice and level, and all of a sudden this 350-pound guy walks up the side of the lane, and as you can see, I can move that bubble just a little bit. Well, this 350-pound guy was standing right on the edge of the lane, and all of a sudden my bubble starts to move. It's like, you know, we have a 16-pound bowling ball that rolls down here. It's like, we don't have to allow for 350 pounds standing on the edge. I says, basically, when you do this, you need to step off to the side and just let the level read. I says, now if it was really loose, I says, you have an issue. I says, but I go 128 pounds and sometimes I can move that bubble 20 thousandths of a mark.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, oh. But yeah, every time the guy would set the level down, he would basically just stand over to the side of the lane, and of course, with all his weight just right there by the level, it was just
Oh no.
So it's like, yeah, you always step back away from the bubble, or away from the level, so that way we're not adding any excess weight to that lane surface. I says, because if you take a 16-pound bowling ball and set it out there on the edge of the lane, I says, it's not going to move that bubble.
Yeah. That's crazy.
They were like, we've been doing this for years and we never knew that. It's like, somebody wasn't paying attention when they were basically
Taking their
getting
certification.
schooled on how to do this. But yeah, I knew I was in trouble when they didn't know which end was the pit and they wanted to know where the bar was at.
Oh Lord. That's always a good feeling. I'm actually amazed how level and flat these are. Well, I won't say level, but how flat they are.
Oh, they're pretty flat. It's basically every mark on that level is 5/1000ths, and like I say, you're allowed 40/1000ths. Cross tilt left to right, and then your crown and depression, you're allowed 40/1000ths.
It doesn't look like there's really any depression at all, though.
No. You got minimal depression.
Which is good.
Uh-huh. You want them as flat as you can get. Makes them more consistent. That's a 10/1000ths gauge. I've just got a couple boards. That's 10/1000ths, and a regular playing card is 11/1000ths thick, so it tells you how thin that is.
Okay, yeah, definitely. So my bowlers are either gonna laugh or cry if you do 14, because they swear that 14 is
14?
bad. It's bad, they said.
14 years. So it's a little out there at the dots. So that's 30/1000ths.
So it's got a right-hand advantage.
Actually, the advantage is to the high side because the ball's kind of parking downhill. So yeah, you're right there. Still got a couple marks, so you're about 47/1000ths high to the left at the dots. And you're almost dead level right there at the arrows. Flat.
Sometimes lane conditions are all in their head.
Yeah.
So, lane 14, folks. I'm gonna play this for my whiner.
There you're only about 20,000, so you're well within legal. And probably about 18,000ths there. Looks like about 15,000ths there. And about 11,000ths there.
Okay, so now they can stop whining because it's all legal.
Yep.
It actually looks like it may be in better shape than 15.
It's all good and legal.
Yeah, everybody's got their favorite lane. I don't know what it is. And I tell them, guys, it's not the lane. Don't know what to tell you.
Take a couple down here and then we should be good.
So this is my breakfast this morning. I'm having a cheeseburger mushroom with onions. I may throw some pepper jack cheese on it. I'll probably regret it because I'll probably feel a little over full. I don't normally eat this much in the morning. But just kind of give you an idea of what it looks like. We use incredibly fresh hamburger. So that's what you're looking at there. We use a heated weight so it cooks it all the way through really well. So I have a table jam. Not really sure what caused it. But I'll need to clear it out.
Go sniff some balls.
I'm gonna stick my face all up in your balls.
Right there. Looks like it just double fed. So I gotta go clear that out. Oh my god, this is so heavy. Maybe.
What's that?
Suspect that. Oh, sweet. Brian's going to use this case as a suitcase. I've never seen a case move so smoothly. That's insane. Does Kegel make bowling bags?
What?
Do
What are you doing?
Do they make bowling bags?
What are you doing over here?
Feel how smooth that pulls.
I want to know what's in it.
Oh, you want to know what's in it? Special. This box is not designed for people to get into. Oh, wait for me. So there it is. There's the whole kit and kabang. Oh, that's neat.
What do they give you there?
The cards to download the Specto app. That's cool. Level in between 8 and 7.
Yeah, it's a small level.
8 and 9.
Yeah, between the 8 and 9. And then adjust your first bar and the one over on that side too. That way, when you adjust them, it'll raise and lower that table where you want it, but you want to keep it as level as you can. That's why you need that level under.
Gotcha. So we don't actually have to raise the machines up any?
No, just raise the table.
Okay. And then we shouldn't have to adjust the downward ramp or anything. That should all stay the same.
Yeah, all that'll stay the same. Your pits will stay the same. Everything. I mean, the biggest thing is when they put the lane in, you're gonna have to come back here and manually make the table go into a spot, and then lower it down. You might be able to get away with running it, but I would crank it and see where you are. When that cup comes all the way down at the absolute max, when it starts to pull, you should only be about an inch off of that pin deck.
Okay. So when the cup starts its backward rotation
it
to go
should
back
be right
up.
about an inch off your deck. Is where you do want it. Because if it's not spotted right, even though it may spot your pins right, if you don't get that good measurement, more likely you're going to come up with probably issues with your respot cells.
And so I should, just for good measure the 10, the 7, and the 1, just to make sure all 3 corners are 1 inch from the floor.
Yeah, you can. It wouldn't hurt nothing, because I'm sure these haven't been adjusted in a long time. I know I've done 17 and 18, but I haven't leveled any other machine because they've been working, so I haven't messed with them. But the other way, the way to do your front to back level, to do it absolutely correctly, is to actually take your distributor track off and get like an 18-inch level and go right between your second pole and your third pole for your respot cells and put it going across them. That way your track's not in the way. You can set it right in there.
Flush.
Yeah, and like I said, those 2 rods will lower it, but if you need to go this way, towards the front or back,
It's that very first rod in the front.
it's this one.
That one?
This one, and the other one on that side. These will pivot your table front to back.
Okay.
The only reason there's the bottom rods and the one at a 45, those are just stabilizers. So once you get those 4 bars where you want them, then you come back through and just kind of snug these up just enough and lock them down.
Okay.
And when you wiggle it, it's pretty much like you ever done the struts or shocks test on a car?
Mm-hmm.
Bounce it 2 or 3 times and let go. You know, it's going to be the same way. Shake it. You should see that table stop within 1 or 2 wiggles.
Yeah, it shouldn't continue to.
Yeah, and so that way you know for a fact that you've got all your tension bars still good to go. And more likely though, you're not going to have to mess with them if you're just messing with your height. These should still stay just fine.
Okay.
It can be sometimes a little time consuming, but it's not that hard.